Happy Halloween, everybody, and welcome back to Between the 20s. And we're here, Amer, Mike, I'm Bryce. We're here to talk to you about Week 9 start-sit decisions. You guys did a great job last week. Thank you guys for doing this.
We missed you. We missed you.
Yeah,
I
we
miss
got
being here.
Got to hold down the fort without you, Bryce.
I miss being here. But watch the video. These guys were great. So
Show might
I'm
have been
back,
a little
but-
better last week. But
but how are you guys doing? We're over halfway done with the football season now. Week 9 coming up.
I'm good, man. Yeah, running into week 9. We'll see halfway through the fantasy football and regular football season. So we're getting down to crunch time in fantasy football. Get ready for the playoffs, guys. Big time.
it's good. We got Cardinals Niners today. The Niners
Yes, we
still an
do.
undefeated team. Very exciting to see Jimmy G out there hurling the pigskin, making them look like a great team. They got that defense back there. They're really a contender at this point, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Tom Brady, Jimmy Garoppolo, Jacoby Brissett have a combined 2 losses this season. Combined. Talk
And that's
about a
all on
quarterback.
Jacoby Brissett.
Yes, that is true. Not even on him, even that's
No.
the defense. I
Yeah.
mean, talk about a quarterback's room. They look great. Well, Jimmy G not so much. But the defense, spectacular. Nick Bosa, DPOY. Absolutely.
Hey, porn star Jimmy's getting the job done.
Even Broken Clock is right twice a day. But for those of you that have watched this show before or watched the Start Sit show, you'll know how this works. But for those of you who haven't, we're going to go through a couple listener questions. We'll talk about league size. We'll talk about scoring system. Thank you.
Yep.
That was the word.
Yep.
And we'll go through all these guys and give our takes for who they are. And again, if you reached out to us for guys with Thursday Nighters, I don't think we have any Thursday Nighters this week, but we'll get back to you with those in the DMs on Instagram, Twitter, whatever.
Yep.
So just a PSA for that one. But with that, let's get started. And we're starting with a 12-team PPR flex question. We have both a running back and a wide receiver. Austin Eckler coming in against the Green Bay Packers. New OC, Ken Wisenhunt was fired. Or T.Y. Hilton, the guy in the aforementioned Indianapolis Colts system. He is the number 1 receiver there, going up against Pittsburgh in Heinz Field. Amer, what are you feeling for this one?
Yeah, so I got T.Y. Hilton in this one. I guess just a better offense so far this year. The Chargers have been extremely underwhelming, and Austin Eckler has really not been any threat in the run game since Melvin Gordon's return. His real upside is just his touchdowns, and in the passing game, especially in a PPR league, I think he can give you some upside. But I think T.Y. Hilton is, of course, number 1 target in Indianapolis. They're playing Pittsburgh, whose defense isn't too good. If you check the first half or even the first quarter of Monday Night Football last week, you could see Miami actually scored some points against this Pittsburgh defense. So I don't think Indy's going to have a problem moving the ball. I think this for Austin Eckler, he's playing against the Packers, who have actually had a pretty solid defense this year so far. So I think I'm rolling with T.Y. Hilton this week.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with T.Y. there. I think that Chargers backfield, now that Melvin Gordon's back, and probably going to continue taking kind of more of a dominant role throughout the rest of the course of the season. You're going to start to want to shy away from really putting Eckler in as that definite start here. He's definitely more of a flex play, maybe in a 10-team league, maybe even a 12-team league at times, depending on who else you have. But I think I'm going to go T.Y. Hilton this week. I think his matchup also is more favorable. That Packers defense has been good recently, so I'm going to go with Hilton.
So we do tend to talk about here guaranteed touches. So oftentimes when we do these flex questions with running backs and receivers, we lean running back. But you guys are talking about receivers. Austin Eckler is a different situation. He's more of a receiver than a running back at this
100%.
point, like Tariq Cohen. That being said, I am going to go with the running back. I am going to be a little bit different here, going Austin Eckler. His value since Melvin Gordon has come back has obviously diminished, but for the most part, it's been retained. If you're looking at the 4 games since Melvin Gordon came back, he's got 2 of them that have 8 or more targets. He eclipsed 100 yards in one of them, just receiving, and he's getting a lot of goal line touches. Green Bay, they're obviously going to throw the ball a lot. The Chargers are likely going to be playing from behind. We'll get into Phillip Rivers a little bit later, too, on one of these questions. But I think they're going to start utilizing Austin Eckler. I do think that's part of the reason why Ken Wisenhunt was fired. Austin Eckler was fantastic before Gordon got back. Wisenhunt tried to use him. Used Gordon, that is, a little too much, and it was super ineffective. So I think their new OC is going to maybe lean on Austin Eckler a little bit more. I'm going to bet on him this week to outperform T.Y. Hilton. But good question, and this is a good problem to have.
Yeah, I mean, I can see you putting in Austin Eckler, especially PPR league. He's going to get a ton of receptions. Earlier this season, he had like 15 receptions in one of these games. So not a bad pick either way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now we're moving from a 12-team all the way down to an 8-team league. But we're looking at quarterbacks here. I think bye weeks hit this guy pretty hard. So he's got 3 options coming in. That's going to be Gardner Minshew, mustachioed Minshew in Jacksonville going up against Houston. Josh Allen, the guy with the cannon arm, going up against Washington. And Jameis Winston going up against Seattle in CenturyLink Field in the Pacific Northwest. Mike, we'll kick this one to you.
Yeah, I think Jameis Winston in this week at least is definitely on a tier lower than both of these other guys, just because that Seattle defense is tough and taking them on in Seattle is especially difficult. So I think definitely not him. And then between the other two, it's a little bit tougher. You have Minshew and Allen. Minshew now playing against a Texans defense that has lost J.J. Watt for the rest of the season, which is very unfortunate. Josh Allen, though, going up against the Redskins in Buffalo, I'm going to make that pick. I know it might not necessarily be the going chalk with Minshew, but I like Allen and the Bills going to take on that Redskins team that really isn't good at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty awful, as a matter of fact.
Tough to be worse than the Redskins this year.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you're the Bengals or
the Dolphins.
Yeah. Or maybe the Jets. Anyway, so
Jets-Dolphins, tune in.
Oh,
So I do agree with you. I think Jameis Winston's on a lower tier than these other two guys, Minshew and Josh Allen. Actually, I wanted to go with Gardner Minshew for Halloween this year, but I couldn't really put together the costume.
He could only grow the beard.
Yeah, the
No
mustache.
stash.
No one can touch that stash from Gardner. And he's a great play this week. Houston's given up multiple touchdowns the past couple of weeks to opposing quarterbacks. So they haven't been great against, obviously, opposing quarterbacks. Their secondary's been kind of rough as of late. But I'm going to go with Josh Allen, just like Mike. Washington's been terrible. I think Josh Allen has that really high floor with his rushing prowess. He could definitely get into the end zone on the ground, which in standard QB leagues is that extra 2 points over a passing touchdown. So I think Josh Allen's got that higher floor, and that's kind of what you're looking for from your quarterback. So Josh Allen's my guy this week.
yeah, I'm going to round this one out with you guys. I'm going to stay with Josh Allen. Gardner Minshew is an enticing matchup because he is going to throw. That's the one concern I have with Josh Allen this week. The Bills might jump out ahead in the first quarter and then just ground and pound with Singletary and Frank Gore, maybe even TJ Yeldon if they get out to a fast enough start. But I think that those first 3 touchdowns they're going to score are going to come from him. He's going to bomb the ball down to John Brown. John Brown had a lackluster week against Philly last week. Ended up with, I think it was 5 receptions for 56 yards.
Yep.
But still, Josh Allen might be a fringe QB1 each week at this point, especially with a good matchup like this. Definitely don't play Jameis. You guys said it. That's now 3 of us, the trifecta, as we like to call it, for Josh Allen.
Sweep.
Queen sweep on Josh Allen this week.
Once we break out the brooms.
He's your guy.
Now on to a question that we've actually gotten before, I think. This is a 10-team standard wide receiver. We have DK Metcalf in Seattle going up against Tampa Bay, and then DJ Moore in Carolina going up against Tennessee. 2 interesting defensive matchups here. Amir, what are you thinking?
Yeah, for me, and just because of the scoring system in this one, standard league, you're not looking at PPR. You're really going for touchdowns, I think, with these 2 guys. And for me, the guy that gives you more touchdown upside is DK Metcalf, 100%. He scored 2 last week. He's had some big plays for Seattle. Russell Wilson's delivering the ball, especially the deep ball. DK Metcalf can take 1 play and make your fantasy week at that wide receiver 2 spot. So I think he's got great upside, so I think he's the guy this week. He's also playing against Tampa Bay, who started well on defense, but they've kind of trailed off recently. They've given up a lot of points to wide receivers, especially when compared to DJ Moore's matchup, which is the Tennessee Titans, who have a sneaky good defense, as kind of always they've had a sneaky good defense. Top 10 against wide receivers is Tennessee, so rolling with DK Metcalf this week. He's a beast. Just look at this picture.
I'm not necessarily sure how much deep threat upside you're going to get from a guy who in week 8 had 3 catches for a total of 13 yards, but did have 2 touchdowns
Watch the tape.
in the end zone twice. I'm going to go DK Metcalf here just because I think that's your better matchup in a standard league. PPR, this becomes a little bit more of a difficult question for me. But Metcalf, I mean, you're looking for touchdowns here, not necessarily receptions. Metcalf has a higher probability of getting into the end zone than DJ Moore. And if you were just to get a few receptions from DJ Moore, a few yards, that's really not going to really make that much of a dent on your fantasy team. So I think you want to go Metcalf here, try for those 6 touchdown points. And in reality, for Moore to have a big week, too, in a standard league, he has to get in the end zone as well. So I like the chance of Metcalf getting the end zone better. So that's what I'm calling.
I also like DK Metcalf. That'll make 3, another trifecta for us, another clean sweep. So what I'm going to say here is actually a little bit different. This is about the defenses for me. Tennessee, who Carolina's going up against, the number 9 defense in standard against receivers. So a very tough matchup for DJ Moore. And then Tampa Bay is 28th against the pass, but tops against the run. So Chris Carson might have a tough day sledding, and they're going to be forced to throw the ball a little bit more. That should be in the game plan anyway. So DK Metcalf is going to get looks. He's gotten at least 5 targets in each of the last 3 weeks. He went 5 in week 6, 9 in week 7, 5 in week 8. And Mike said it before, 2 touchdowns last week. He's got that upside. I'm going to go with DK Metcalf here as well.
Sounds good.
First tight ends question. We love our tight ends questions here. 10-team PPR. Looking at 2 guys who are fringe startable tight ends most weeks. More like a tight end too. But we're going to kick it out to Oakland with TJ Hawkinson, who's playing for Detroit, going against Oakland this week. Or Vance McDonald in Pittsburgh going up against Indianapolis. Mike, where are you leaning?
I'm going Hawk. I like TJ Hawkinson this week. Going up at Oakland. Oakland's defense isn't very good. Or the team really isn't very good, to be quite honest. I don't know. They seem like they're always on the fringe of being relevant this year, but I really don't think so. The only reason they were relevant before the season started was because of the whole Antonio Brown scandal. Not scandal, but whole ordeal, I should say. But yeah, I definitely like that. Just that matchup better. I think Hawkinson will get you more fantasy value this week. I don't think McDonald is really going to do all that much against Indianapolis.
Yeah, I agree. Vance McDonald's been extremely underwhelming. People are drafting him as a top 8, sometimes even top 7, top 6 tight end going into the season. And the Pittsburgh Steelers just haven't used him. Maybe that's because Ben Roethlisberger got hurt. Maybe it's just their offense doesn't really rely on the tight end, which we've kind of seen in past years. So I think I'm going to go with TJ Hawkinson as well. Matt Stafford is having a pretty good string of weeks so far, and Oakland's defense shouldn't stop him at all. He's a top-tier quarterback this week, in case you're looking for someone, but he's probably already taken. But anyway, I think Matt Stafford's really going to deliver this ball to Kenny Golladay and TJ Hawkinson. Both these guys are good plays for me. So TJ Hawkinson over Vance McDonald for me this week.
I'm also going to say TJ Hawkinson. This is, at least to me, seems to be a bye-week issue. Neither one of these guys are weekly starters.
Yep.
So this is probably a waiver wire.
You never know how
pickup.
deep the league is. You
Never
never know how deep
This
the
could be a
league is.
16-teamer.
Could be.
Actually, we do know how deep the league is because
That's right.
we know this is a 10-team
10
league. So
teams,
this is
so it looks like
almost
some bye
certainly a
week,
bye
sure.
week thing.
Yeah.
So what you're doing here with your bye week replacement is just looking for upside. McDonald might have a higher floor, I guess, just because he has a little more pedigree. Hawkinson
close.
only had 1 target last week, but at least Hawkinson gives you some big play potential and gives you more touchdown potential than Vance McDonald does. So I'm going to lean here on upside with a better matchup going up against Oakland too for Hawkinson. So TJ Hawkinson for all 3 of us.
Sounds good.
Leaning on the upside.
Yeah.
I like it.
10-team PPR again, but this time we're going to a flex. And another one where we have a receiver going up against a running back. That is going to be Corey Davis, who had a big week 2 weeks ago, and not such a big week last week, for Tennessee going up in Carolina. Or Devin Singletary, the guy who really should be the number 1, but I don't know why he's not their de facto number 1 right now, going up against a brutal Washington team.
Pains you a little bit that he's not
It
number 1.
does. He was one of my
yeah.
guys.
touting in Bryce Week's
Yeah.
buys.
He was one of my guys.
Bryce's bye-week buys.
Granted, last week they pull off 4 catches, a touchdown, decent week
Yeah.
in very little limited usage. Mike is a big Devin Singletary guy because he runs on passing downs, as Mike says.
Surprise the defense.
But we'll go with Ahmed.
Well, because Bryce is always looking at the efficiency running, and the efficiency
He is
total
efficient.
can be deceiving. It can be deceiving.
He's efficient.
If you're running on
Efficiency is
passing downs, if
efficiency.
you're running against dimes, you're
Oh,
running
man.
against quarters. You could be in trouble. Could get those extra.
He's
the
right.
defense could be in trouble. You could be getting those.
Not a bad point. Not a bad point.
Few yards. It's like classic Giants. I mean, we saw Pat Schumer, 3rd and 19. What do? Let's run the draw. Let's run the draw. Catch him by surprise. He could have gotten 18 yards, and he would have helped his team zilch.
As a Giants fan, the draw play is the worst play in football.
That's
That's all they
Kitchens-
run.
That's a Freddie Kitchens move as well. 4th and 9, running
Oh,
with Nick Chubb
God.
earlier this year. What are you doing?
Back to the Ben
Terrible.
McAdoo 3rd and 11 days. Let's.
Let's run a bubble screen. Terrible. But getting back to the question at hand, Amer, are you leaning Davis or are you leaning
Yeah,
Singletary?
so I'm going to go with the running back in this case. I think generally running backs are better. I did go with the wide receiver earlier with the first question, but I think Devin Singletary's got a good chance to have a good week. Washington, as we said earlier when we talked about John Brown, not a good team. Buffalo's probably going to be up big. They're going to run, and that's going to be split between Frank Gore and Devin Singletary. I think between these two guys, Singletary's going to get more touches, and he's a more explosive guy. So look for him. He could break off a big run. He could make it in the end zone. So I think Devin Singletary is this guy this week. Corey Davis, not great. He might have a good week here and there, but I don't really trust him in my fantasy roster.
I know, and it's very frustrating because every time I drafts, it seemed like Corey Davis would be there, and he'd be like, "Oh, he's the wide receiver 1. Like, this is great late round pick, high floor. Gonna be perfect bye week substitute." And he
No
just
floor.
is,
Nope.
no floor, and his ceiling's also through the roof. So you're just like
Through the
Oh,
roof, he's
boy.
capped at 20 points.
20 points. But that's still good 20 points if
In
he's your bye week
PPR.
fill-in. All right, easy. I guess that's still. But he's done that what 3 times,
Twice.
2 times? Yeah, he's put up
Twice.
20 points twice. But I'm gonna agree with Singletary here after all.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that he's just gonna offer you a little bit more value. They're going up against the Redskins, which to me says they're gonna take the lead early and then just start grounding and pounding Singletary, whoever's in the backfield. Really, I think they're gonna be. I think that they're going to have to rely on both their running backs when they take that big lead, and they're going to try to run the clock down a little bit. As opposed to Corey Davis, whose Titans don't really like to use the wide receiver core all that much, as I found out, sadly, throughout the course of the year.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Singletary here.
So Corey Davis, we talked about this floor. The weeks that he didn't put up 20, so, the majority of the weeks this
Almost
year,
every week, yeah.
he still hasn't eclipsed 8 points. That's insane. I'm not starting that. And this is finally the week where the Bills can see what they have in Singletary. Get out to that big lead. Put Franco on the bench. He's your old man. He's going to take you to the playoffs, maybe. We don't know. We'll talk about that soon.
Take you to the NFL ace. He's just the oldest man. He's going to take you to the NFL's retirement.
Yeah,
The
NFL's
really
elder
oldest
statesman is going to go out there with his
Yeah.
little walker. His room, his
Hey,
little
if
jazzy
he's
scooter.
gonna average 4 yards a carry, he could be on his walker, he could be in his wheelchair. Doesn't matter how old you are.
I'll
4
take
And
yards
you know
a
what's
carry,
impressive
you'll
about
take
those 4 yards of carry?
that. They're on rushing
Oh!
down.
But this is finally the week where I think the Bills see what they have in Singletary. They're going to have a great matchup, and this is the ideal time for them to work him out. So I think they're going to go there. And, just please don't start Corey Davis. Please don't. Unless you're Michael. Then you can.
Even I said Singletary this week. That shows you where you should put your money.
This is a question that I don't think any of us thought that we were going to get at the beginning of the year.
What?
Let's always remember who's slow on the Cleveland Browns.
Let's get into this
Let's
question.
always remember.
Let's get into this question, then we'll talk.
8-team standard wide receiver, John Brown against Washington. So another Bill we're talking about here. Or,
Wait, his
Oh.
name's John.
that's what I said.
You said he's Bill.
Stop.
Or Odell Beckham Jr. going up against Denver with the questionable Freddie Kitchens and the potentially even more questionable Baker Mayfield, a good defense in Denver. No one foresaw this question. I took OBJ in several first rounds. But nevertheless, this is something we have to consider right now, especially with John Brown's touchdown potential in a standard league.
Mhm.
Mike, what are you thinking?
At least you didn't take Antonio Brown in the early rounds.
At least I didn't trade Marlon Mack for Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
Could have gotten worse. Anyway, I still think you got to go Beckham here. He's playing in Denver. John Brown's going up against the Redskins, but like we said, I think that game script is kind of going to. They're going to score early, but then I think it's kind of going to go towards the running backs a little bit more there in Buffalo. But I think that Beckham, you gotta love that offense, and I think they have the potential to really still come together. I know it's questionable.
Mike's praising the
Yeah,
Browns
what's up with
offense?
this?
We're in the upside down, gentlemen.
No, I always feel I'm always the guy who's slow to take on any hype. We go positive hype,
Regression
negative
to the
hype,
mean. You're all regression.
always
to the
in
mean.
the middle. You always got to keep it calm. I started the year 0-4 in one of my leagues. Okay, now I'm 4-4
Look at that.
without making any major transactions. Why? Because I have
Give
faith.
it up for Mike.
You gotta have faith. You gotta have faith in the guys that you pick. You pick them there for a reason. I know that people expected the Browns' offense to be much better. That's fair. That's a fair expectation. I don't necessarily think that they're going to converge to still that high expectation of that offense. But I think even if they get close to there, they're still very good. And I mean, I don't think the Denver defense. The Denver defense.
Yep.
Is necessarily something that's going to be able to stop Odell Beckham. I have faith in the Browns this week.
Yeah. For someone that put Odell in his top 3 wide receivers, he was a top 10 guy for me going into the draft. This is tough. This is a tough question. I have a lot of Odell Beckham Jr. stocks. This is a big hit, seeing this question. And the fact is, it's a legitimate question. John Brown has been good so far this season. He's got a good matchup. But with all that being said, I got to stick with Odell. This is not your slightly older brother's Denver Broncos defense. They are a lot worse than they have been in the past. Their best corner, Chris Harris, is a slot corner. Odell works mainly on the outside, but obviously he can play anywhere, but a lot of his damage is done on the outside. So Odell Beckham Jr., insane talent. I think the Browns showed some signs, actually. You might not think they did, but showed some signs against the Patriots, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So I think the Browns might be picking it up. Hopefully this is wishful thinking maybe, but Odell Beckham is my pick this week.
Yeah, so fun fact actually. OBJ
Okay.
is the number 23 wide receiver in PPR. John Brown, the guy who was largely undrafted, potentially late round flyer, wide receiver 17. That show you all you need to know about just what fantasy football has been this entire year. It's been a strange year.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, you have to start Odell. The guy, yes, it's tough, but he's still an elite receiver athletically anyway. He's still a fantastic route runner. He can catch anything that you throw at him. Yeah, he's playing against a tough defense, but they have a very good run defense too. And I don't think they'll rely on Nick Chubb overly much. He has had games where he's run the ball 25 or more times, particularly that one game against Baltimore when he went off. But I think if you have OBJ, you have to play him and take the risk of, yeah, John Brown might score more, but OBJ is still going to give you at least some semblance of a floor.
Yeah.
And we're saying play him, not because you drafted him. We're playing him because he's the better pick this week.
Because we think
We
he's
still
the-
got to emphasize
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
He's. In the end of the day, John Brown might have a higher upside this week. This particular week, because they're playing Washington, he could have 2 touchdowns in the first 10 minutes of the game. But we're assuming that they're going to go off in a quick start. If John Brown doesn't get one of those touchdowns, it's going to be a tough day for him. And Odell is at least going to have his share. He'll get 7 targets, might have 5 catches, 60, 70 yards. Maybe finds the end zone for the second time this year. That's what's scary. He's only found the end zone once in week 2. In week 2. Which has just been annoying.
What
So,
B's saying is that if you check your lineup at 2:15 p.m. Eastern and John Brown doesn't have a touchdown,
He
and
He
he's
made
in
the
your
right
lineup,
choice.
yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
Our first pick 2. We love our pick 2s here. This gives us a little more time to think. Kind of cooler scenarios for us too. This is a cool one. We have a 12-team PPR. I'm going to assume here we have 2 receivers and running backs, so one's going to be a receiver slot, one's going to be a flex slot. We have Golden Tate, giant guy, going up against Dallas on Monday night with Danny Dimes throwing the ball to him. Big week last week against Detroit. DJ Moore, talked about him a little bit earlier against Tennessee. And Michael, it's your favorite running back, Carlos Hyde in Houston. Rough week last week, but gets a very good matchup against Jacksonville. We're going to start with you. I'm going to assume he's going to say Carlos Hyde.
It's
Tough.
We'll see.
Carlos Hyde, Mr. Mediocre in a good way when it comes to running backs. Always right there at that 10-point line. PPR leagues, very accountable,
Consistent.
except last week. Last week was rough. With that said, I think the number one guy you got to go with here is DJ Moore, number 1 receiver in Carolina, going up against the Titans, whose defense isn't that great. This is a PPR league, unlike the standard league we talked about where we had Moore before. I think he's that guy who's not necessarily the biggest red zone threat, but he does get a lot of receptions as the number 1 wide receiver, minus Christian McCaffrey.
Who is their
questionably
number 1 receiver?
Yeah. So I think I'm going to go DJ Moore, number 1. And number 2, geez, I'm a Giants fan, and Golden Tate is it's tough. It's tough. That offense really doesn't. It's Danny Dimes. Who knows? One week to the next, what could happen? He did play well last week. Hell, let's do it. I'll go Golden Tate. Rooting on my Giants. Cowboys. They gave up 30 points to the Jets, 23 points to the Jets. If they can do that to a defense, I think they can give up a few yards to Golden Tate. So I'm going Golden Tate here along with DJ Moore.
So I'm going to agree with you on Golden Tate. I think Dallas is going to get up big in this game. They show that they have insane offensive firepower a couple weeks ago against the Eagles. And the Giants' defense is not good. I'm sure you guys know that.
He's insulting us.
Um,
He's about to say that the Cowboys are going to blow the Giants out
yeah,
of the water.
They
and
are.
you guys are going to have to try to throw the ball. The Giants are really going to have to throw the ball. And that's where Golden Tate's going to come in. I think it's going to be a big game for him. Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones is going to throw it a lot more than probably he should. But just for them to stay in this game, if they can stay in this game or catch up, Golden Tate's going to get a lot of those catches. And for me, second, I'm going to go with Carlos Hyde. You betrayed your guy. I'm going to take him this week. The Jags have a sneaky bad run defense this week. You think, oh, the Jags, they have a great defense. Not too good on the ground this week against the rush, or this year against the rush, this Jags defense. And Houston's obviously a much better team, so I think they're also going to get up big on the Jags. and kind of run with Carlos Hyde. He's always a touchdown potential kind of guy, especially in this good offense with Deshaun Watson. So Carlos Hyde, I'm going with him this week, as well as Golden Tate.
Golden Tate is also my lock. In the so he's been back for 4 weeks, but obviously week 5 against Minnesota, tough matchup, but also
First game
he's just
back,
getting back into it. So the last 3 weeks, we'll say he's been fully back, had at least 9 targets in every game, at least 80 yards in every game. He's hit 14 or more points in every single game that he's been fully back, if you don't count the Minnesota game. I do like that. Sterling Shepard might play, but he's going to be banged up. It's certainly not 100% when he's back. Daniel Jones definitely likes to throw the ball to Golden Tate. He's my lock this week. They are going to throw because, unfortunately, they are going to get blown out. So they're going to throw
The Jets beat the Cowboys. The Jets. Just keep that in mind.
That is true. But we'll see. Golden Tate is my lock. This is a toss-up for me between Hyde and Moore. Moore certainly has the higher upside, but Hyde has my favorite phrase, guaranteed touches, along with a good matchup.
It might be the upside down today. I mean, my God, they're talking about guaranteed touches. Every week I'm preaching, you got to take the number 1 running back on a team. You got to take the number 1 running back. Got to take the number 1 running back. And all of a sudden, I'm getting betrayed this week. Like, they always usually moan at me. And today it's, you got to take the guaranteed touches. Are we serious? Are we serious? Am I getting turned against?
I'm not taking guaranteed touches.
Oh.
I'm taking DJ Moore.
Whoa!
I'm gonna go.
Whoa!
That's right. Sweep for this side.
Look at that
rant.
That rant got shut down by Bryce.
I'm gonna go upside. DJ Moore hasn't found the end zone in a while. I think he's due. Carolina. This is gonna be this is gonna be a sneaky close game. The Tennessee offense has looked pretty good with Ryan Tannehill. And the Carolina defense is good, not great. It's good. This is gonna be a close game. I think they're gonna throw the ball. And I think they're going to try and target Christian McCaffrey on the defense. I know I would. So DJ Moore, I think, has some sneaky upside here. And I'm going to go DJ Moore and Golden Tate. But obviously Carlos Hyde is guaranteed touches.
Halloween sneaky? It's Halloween, by the way, today.
Yeah, spooky season.
Spooky season.
His fantasy teams are pretty scary.
Scary when you're playing against them, for sure.
Getting down the wire here, we have 3 more questions to go through.
What wire is this?
The end of the podcast wire.
That's everybody's least favorite time of the week between the 20s.
Is ending?
Yeah.
My favorite part of the week is when I see those new notifications light up on my YouTube channel, on my YouTube subs. Love seeing this.
Yeah, me too. All the subs we get on this channel. We really appreciate you guys. Thanks for subbing. Thanks for the views. Can't do it without you.
Yeah, absolutely.
We do it for the fans. We're here for the fans.
We are. And we enjoy it too, so everybody wins.
It's what does the econ professor say?
Oh, compensating differentials.
Compensating differentials. That's fun. We like our quarterback questions here. We talk a lot about receivers. We talk a lot about running backs. Tight ends, quarterbacks don't get enough love. This is a good quarterback week to talk about because a lot of guys are on bye.
Yep.
So we have another quarterback question. 3 different quarterbacks from the ones we just talked about a little bit earlier in the show. Kirk Cousins had an interesting week last week. Didn't throw it for a touchdown, but did throw it for a lot of yards. Going up against a brutal Kansas City Chiefs defense with, I believe, Kyle Fuller is still out, or Kendall Fuller, whichever Fuller brother it is. Kyler Murray going tonight against San Francisco. Very tough matchup for him, with no David Johnson or Chase Edmonds in the backfield. And then P-Riv, all reliable. Phillip Rivers going up against Green Bay for the Los Angeles Chargers. Amer, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, just out of these 3 guys, we pretty much know, and it should be kind of common knowledge, that Kyler Murray is the best out of the 3 on a normal week. But this is no normal week. He's playing top 3 defense in the NFL in San Francisco. You saw how they manhandled the Panthers last week, and I don't see them slowing down. Short weeks are usually better for defenses, worse for offenses. So Kyler Murray, not this week. I'm sorry. Good player, good fantasy quarterback, not this week. San Francisco's too good. With the other 2, you got Kirk Cousins, Mr. Unreliable for the most part, and Iron Man Phillip Rivers. But I'm going to go with Kirk Cousins just simply because of the matchup. Kansas City Chiefs defense has been brutal this season. They gave up huge numbers to Aaron Rodgers, and of course, Kirk Cousins has been playing well so far past couple of games. He had a tough game actually against Atlanta this past week, but I think he's going to bounce back. He's going to have a big week. So Kirk Cousins for me is the pick out of these 3.
Yeah, I got confidence on this pick. Something I rarely have on some of these. But I'm going to agree. I'm going to go Kirk Cousins. I got some simple reasoning here. Very similar to you on Kyler Murray. Going up against the 49ers. not a huge fan. Philip Rivers going up against the Packers. They actually have the ninth ranked fantasy defense against quarterbacks. So you don't want to go up against that Packers defense. And he's basically comparable value to Kirk Cousins this season in terms of just fantasy points.
Yep.
Kirk Cousins actually has an edge, I think, about a point per game. But even with that, I think the matchup against Kansas City is much more favorable for Cousins. I'm rolling with the Viking quarterback.
I'm going to go into the shed, and I'm going to pull out my kayak because I'm riding the rivers this week. Sorry, that's my little mic joke. That's my mic joke for the week.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Philip Rivers going against the grain here. Yes, it's a tougher matchup, but you're looking at a fantastic offense in Green Bay. Yes, Kansas City is a great offense, but let's remember, Patrick Mahomes still out with his dislocated knee.
Yep.
Matt Moore looked really good last week against the Packers, and that's saying something too. And the Packers gave up numbers to Matt Moore, so they can give up numbers to a better quarterback in Philip Rivers. Packers are going to get out to a lead. They're going to throw. I've already talked about Austin Eckler. I think he's going to have a good week with the new OC. Yes, Kirk Cousins does have better weapons when you're talking about Stephon Diggs. Adam Thielen's coming back this week. But you're looking at just the team of reliability. Keenan Allen, Philip Rivers, Hunter Henry. You know what you're going to get. I think Philip Rivers is going to have a decent week, and when you're looking for bye week replacements, I'm looking at least at quarterback for a guy that's going to get me just solid production. I don't want to risk Kirk Cousins this week. He might get 10 points if they lean on Dalvin Cook and just he runs for 400 yards. So I'm going to go Philip Rivers. I know they're going to throw. 10-team standard running back. This is another question I don't think that we anticipated getting at the beginning of the year, but this is not for lack of production. This is actually for some injury concerns. We have James Conner got banged up on a meaningless play in the fourth quarter last week or Monday night against Miami. He's coming in questionable. Did not practice today, did not practice yesterday for the Steelers. He's going against Indianapolis, a fine defense themselves. Or David Montgomery, the enigmatic running back for the Chicago Bears, because actually, it's not the enigmatic running back, it's the enigmatic coaching. Who knows what Matt Nagy's doing every week? Clearly, David Montgomery's working, but he is going up against the number one rush defense in the league, Philadelphia. Not only that, he's in Philadelphia. So, Amr, we'll start with you. What are you thinking here?
On that note, I don't want it to deceive you. Bryce is very high on David Montgomery coming to the league. That's why he takes particular offense to this. David Montgomery really isn't the best fantasy option around these days, but Bryce talks about him like
he's a low-end running back too
deserves to
this
be.
year. He's been fine.
You talked about him like he's going to be the next coming of frickin' Barry Sanders.
When David Montgomery, when he gets 15 or more touches, right? So this is touch dependent. When David Montgomery's gotten 20 or more touches, never mind, I'm not going to say this.
Oh man,
we're gonna skip through.
The stats have slapped Bryce across.
No
the
matter
face.
how many touches he gets, the Bears still can't make a field goal.
And I'm gonna make
when
one
the
pick
game's on the
here.
line.
I'm gonna take James Conner this week just because of the defense they're playing. David Montgomery is yet to grab a hold of this offense. This offense has just been pretty brutal this season, even worse than last year, which is kind of tough. Mitch Trubisky has been struggling a lot this season so far, so this offense is just worse than the Steelers' offense, even if they have Mason Rudolph at quarterback. I think even if James Conner is on a snap count, he's got lower touches than usual. I think James Conner is a guy this week. He's got a higher chance of scoring. Indy's got a good offense, so I think Pittsburgh's going to have to score to keep up. I think James Conner, in both the pass game and the run game, will give you that kind of production. So James Conner for me over David Montgomery this week.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with James Conner. I keep keyed in on it, I'd say, throughout the week. If there is news that... I'll tell you what, we're keeping our standings here, trying to figure out exactly what we're doing. If they announce that James Conner is going to get 15 snaps or less, then I'd say you go Montgomery.
15 snaps or 15 touches?
Snaps.
15 snaps.
That's not a lot at all.
That's like
Exactly.
2%.
Okay, that's fine. That's the threshold. If they say that. AKA, if he's out, I'm going Montgomery. So I want credit for the win there.
Okay.
But otherwise, I love James Conner this week. At least compared to David Montgomery, Mr. Unreliable, I should say. I just think Conner is going to get you solid yards, solid options, even if he's on a snap count, as opposed to Montgomery, who knows what he could do this week. Both these rush defenses are relatively tough, though. You have to note that the Eagles are 6th and the Colts are the 8th ranked fantasy defense against running backs.
Yep. I'm also going to go James Conner.
He
Not
can't-
David
he can't-
Montgomery.
You
I
can't get
back.
away from that preseason hot take. You can't get away from it.
I am going to go James Conner because I know it was Miami, but he looked fantastic before he got hurt Monday night. Not only that, he was playing with negative game script for about half the game. Miami was up 14-0 at the beginning. He looked fantastic, ran the ball very effectively. I think he's finally starting to come into his own. What I think is a benefit of his injury, so it's obviously a painful injury. It's an AC joint.
Yep.
But what's good about it is that it's a shoulder injury, and it's not a knee. It's not David Johnson who has an ankle and a back injury. He's
Yep.
just old. He's 31. But it's a shoulder injury. It is annoying for him to play with, but guys have played through it before. I think James Conner will play through it this week. Jalen Samuels is going to take some of the touches away, but if this game stays and gets close,
If he
which I think
plays.
it will.
If Samuels plays.
If Samuels plays, he's hurt too.
There's so
Benny
many.
Snell is
Yeah.
hurt too.
Who knows?
This whole
Look, they
backfield
could
is
sign
crazy.
They could sign me right now, and I might be playing on Sunday for this.
I think that's
I don't know
happen.
about that, Mike. I don't
Suit
know.
up this vodka match. I think people would be afraid. Good, you know what? They'd run me on passing downs. They'd run me on passing downs.
Anyone can
Bryce
get
would
50
be like,
yards on
oh,
passing down.
this guy's very efficient. He's a very efficient running back here. That's because they're putting me in when they're in like the prevent defense in the fourth quarter, and I'm just running and then running right out of bounds because I'm not getting hit by anything. But yeah,
I'm going to go James Conner to round this
Yeah,
out.
with that,
I just think he looks too good to not play, and you can't get past the defense. Moving on. 12-team PPR flex final question of the afternoon. Another one, we have a receiver and a running back, but these guys aren't as prolific as the guys we usually highlight. Philip Dorsett, who is in a crowded receiver room in New England now with the addition of Mohamed Sanu, going up against Baltimore in Baltimore, a very solid secondary. Or another Mr. O reliable, Adrian Peterson, going up against Buffalo. Tough matchup, likely with negative game script. We've talked about this. Mike, we'll kick it to you first, and we'll start off our last question.
yeah. The toughest part about this is just the fact they're both playing very tough defenses. I mean, you have Peterson going up against the Bills, who are a very, very good defense, and you have Dorsett going up against the Ravens, who are also a very good defense, which makes it tough. It makes it a tough question to answer. You know, it's opposite day. Usually I go for the guaranteed touches. Usually I go AP, but I'm turning it around today. Let's go Dorsett. I like the way the Pats are playing these days. Let's see if New England can bring Dorsett home some points.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I'm going to go homer on this one. Patriots fan, picking the Patriots player, Philip Dorsett, for me. Just the fact with Washington is they're probably going to get down big against the Bills. And in that case, they're not going to rush. And Adrian Peterson gives little to no value in the passing game. That, combined with the fact that this is a PPR league, does favor the wide receivers. And so Philip Dorsett in a better offense against the Baltimore Ravens. This game looks like, this Patriots-Ravens game looks like it's probably going to be a shootout. It might get big points. Both teams have had pretty good offensive starts so far. So I think this is going to be a big game for Philip Dorsett. I think he's clearly the number 2 wide receiver in New England for now. Maybe Sanu will supplant him eventually, but for this week, I'm going Philip Dorsett over Adrian Peterson.
So I, once again, am going to go a little bit different. I'm going to take Adrian Peterson here. I know we were talking him down a couple weeks
Here
ago.
he comes. Here he
Particularly
comes.
me, I was talking
What's he
him
gonna
down.
get, B? What's he gonna get?
Adrian Peterson, I just think I liked what I saw from him last week. 14 touches, 76 yards, added 2 receptions for 27 yards. 14 touches last week in a negative game script against Minnesota was the fewest touches he's had since week 5. And 20 of those came against San Francisco 2 weeks ago, and they also had that slop fest in the rain in FedEx Field.
Yeah.
We have a tough matchup against Buffalo, but it's also tough on the receiver side. I think they are going to lean on their guy. I am going to take the guaranteed touches here. I liked what I saw last week. He was fairly efficient, ran for 5.4 yards per carry. And just the one thing I don't like about Dorsett is because he is touchdown dependent. I don't really want a receiver that's touchdown dependent, particularly when you're going up against a tough secondary with fantastic safeties like Earl Thomas.
Yeah.
So with that, I'm going to clean that off with Adrian Peterson as my final hot take of the day on this cold, chilly afternoon in Chicago for Halloween.
It's snowing sideways outside.
It is snowing
It sure
sideways.
is. Windy City.
30 mile an hour winds, 30 degrees, 180 degrees to the ground. No, that snow is just going straight across.
Yeah, the wind's just picking up Mike and taking it across the quad.
Yeah.
Thank you, as always, for tuning in. We love doing this. We love answering your questions. Please let us know what your questions are in the future. DM us in Twitter, Instagram. Check those out up here. Sub on this YouTube channel. Please comment on this video if you agree, disagree with our takes, disagree with Mike's take. Always. As long as he's not agreeing with us, then you can disagree. But nevertheless, subscribe to YouTube, follow us Instagram and Twitter, and keep an eye out for future videos as we're going to pretty soon look at a NFL playoff preview. But we're here every week talking about your start sit. Hope you enjoyed it. Happy Halloween.